Hi there, I'm Donna Davis.
And I'm Tam Cassidy.
And welcome to the Unknown Podcast. And we're here from the Green Room in Glasgow.
We certainly are. And it's a wee bit different from what you might have seen before when we've been from basically your kitchen table.
My kitchen table and your kitchen
my kitchen table.
Yeah.
So we're very pleased to be coming along here and adding a bit of professionalism to the whole thing.
I think we realised when we listened to them professionally done here at the Green Room how unprofessional they sounded, but you have to start somewhere, taking imperfect action, and that's good. So we are going to be talking for the next few podcasts about your book, Tam, which is the Memoirs of the Square Peg.
Yes.
And we're just going to take it chapter by chapter, aren't we?
Yes. So Memoirs of the Square Peg is basically there's 11 chapters in it, and it's basically a look at, I got to a point in my life, midlife, and as we say, a midlife crisis, but I would say it's when you look back and you see that actually the rebellious punk days were actually right, it was real, and you go full circle and you get to that point, you go, my God, what is this all about? And I decided to try and figure out what it was all about. Like I said to you before, I'd managed a variety of projects, organisations, people and that throughout my whole life, and there was one thing that I'd never managed and looked at.
Your relationships.
Aye,
your relationship with yourself.
Well, thanks for going straight.
Sorry.
Sorry.
We want the juicy stuff.
Your relationship.
Made an F
But you're right there. But that was under, it all comes under the whole umbrella of my life.
I know.
Thanks for that.
Let's just put you in the spot and let's not go near my relationships.
Well, that's what I was going to go to there. But, so that's what it's about. And as you know, I mean, it was yourself, you thought it would be a good idea for us to talk about it, and I really appreciate that. I don't want to be coming across as too self-indulgent.
No, but it's really good and it's really relevant to what we talk about when we go our walks, and we just put the world to right and we try and sort our own heads out by bouncing things off of each other. And we suddenly thought, didn't we, why don't we just talk about your book? Well, it was my idea, wasn't it? Why don't we talk about your book?
The thing is, when I was to look at it, we talked about the preface. So I was born in Glasgow, Rotten Row Infirmary, 1969, and you only believe that because you're told it.
I know.
And there's photos of something that looks nothing like you, when you're young and you're, like we were talking about earlier, I've got photos at my granny's at the Vega Street and out the back, and as a wee Wayne in a pram, and the Wayne, I suppose it is me because they say that, but we take all these things as face value. We're told stuff and we're given pictures and jigsaw of life all fits together, but we never ask any questions. We just say, that must be how it was. Now, I'm not saying it never happened, I wasn't born there or anything like that. I'm just saying sometimes we need to stop and maybe look at our lives a wee bit more and try and understand. I had to try and understand where I was and who I was, and I was making a lot of mistakes in my life. I was making a lot of bad decisions in my life, and I kept doing the same things. And I just decided, as a lay person, I'm not a doctor, a counsellor, I'm nothing like that. I'm just a guy for a council scheme. And I decided I'm going to look into this and try and figure out a wee bit about myself. And that's what I did. And each chapter we'll talk about. The first chapter, we're talking about the conditioning years, which when I started to understand how we're conditioned by who I call the program managers. The program managers.
I know. So, and we are definitely a product of our environment and our childhood and how we've been brought up. And whether it be good conditioning or not, it is just a conditioning, I suppose, isn't it? But that conditioning starts from when you're born. Your parents start to introduce a world to you. You're put into this environment when you're a baby, when you're a child, and then you're at nursery and you're at school, and you've got all this conditioning that then informs your decisions later in life. Fascinating, isn't it?
That's how it's done as well. So for me, what I realised straight away, just by a wee bit of research, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of books out there. Some of them hundreds of years old, some of them thousands of years old, that can explain the malady that we feel and why we feel that way. And the idea that the book, The Memoirs of the Square Peg, is because I always felt that square peg, trying to find it around all of my life. So why was that? And it was because basically I was trying to be somebody, or being asked to be somebody that I wasn't all my life. So the program managers for the school, family, education, family, and religion. Religion
as well,
Aye. And those three aspects of my life are what conditioned me the other days, and for a lot of people it's the same. So family is the first. You're conditioned by family first of all. Everything that goes on around about you before you even know what's happening, even before you can remember really anything. You have things getting said round about you. And in terms of where I grew up, and a lot of people identify with this, it was about lack. It was about you can't afford that, can't do this. There was stuff going on round about you that could cause anxiety, worry, concern, and you take on all those kind of things on board. Then you go to nursery and you go to school and you're taught how to say yes, no, thank you. You're taught what you should be thankful for. You're taught all these different things. And what I realised as well is what they call education is, if you look at how we're all conditioned, school's perfect for that. School basically, what it did for me was, I learnt nothing and I ran away from school when I was 14. But what I did learn in school was how to take on the information that they wanted me. When I say they, the programme managers, the education programme managers are saying about the information they wanted me to take on board. And how did they do that? They got me to repeat it in my head over and over and over again. And then once I was able to take on board that information, and if you can regurgitate it in a way that they want you to regurgitate it, you then get a reward. You get a certificate, and that allows you to go into adult life and have what would be deemed as a better job, to make more money, to have a nicer house, to have a nice partner, to have a nice family, to have a nice car, and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's what you're told. And the religion programme managers are there to punish you if you don't listen to what you're supposed to do and you don't do what you're supposed to do. That was my idea. And when I was at school as well, and I think you're the same, you got the belt. You used to get the belt, you know. So there's a lot of conditioning and that went on. And that was the first, straight away when I looked at, and I started researching my life, and I looked at it, I realised that actually I'd been forced to be somebody that I didn't really feel that I was.
I was just today when I was reading the part of your book, that chapter, and it was talking about how it was making me relate back to some of the stuff that I've discovered on my course and just through the stuff that we watch, like Joe Dispenza and stuff like that. And it was talking about how, not the book, but something else I was looking at was talking about how for the first 6 years of your life, your brainwaves are in a delta state, which means it's almost like you're asleep with your eyes open, and that's when you're most suggestible. You're most suggestible. So that's when you are just purely being programmed and taking in all the information from your environment, and that's like the meditative state you want to be in when you're older. Not when you're older, but just if you're meditating, because that's when you're most suggestible. But what you can do when you're older is put useful information into your subconscious that's helpful. But when you're 0 to 6, you've got no control over what information's coming in there. And then all that information that you're taking in from around your surroundings then informs how you go out into the world and live your life, the kind of relationships you have, how you show up in the relationships, the kind of partner you choose. Because you're right, all that, me as well, from my background, it was all about lack. It was about, well, money doesn't grow on trees, we can't afford that. And now I'm learning about abundance and that we need to have an abundant mindset for everything. Like it's all there for us. It's all there. But if we live in this mindset of lack, then it's not there. It's like, if you think it is, it is. If you think it isn't, it isn't. It's that kind of paradigm, isn't it?
But it doesn't take me long to realise, when you look at it, it doesn't take you long to see that it's a subconscious mind. That's really, you start getting people go, oh, for God's sake, there's two parts to your mind. There's the conscious and the subconscious. The conscious part is the one that we're thinking just now and we're talking and, I'll say that. So I might be going to say something to you in my conscious mind, my thinking mind. So I'll go, oh, this is a good idea. But my subconscious, which was programmed basically all my life, might kick in and say, you'll sound like a fud if you do that.
Get sabotaged.
You don't want to do that. Or, that'd be a good idea if I did that. The subconscious will say, aye, right, who do you think you are? So that's what I discovered straight away. It was like just straight away a light bulb went on that actually it's your. So what you go on to further realise is that it's your belief system. So if you've got a strong enough belief system, your subconscious will take on that belief. And the really cool thing about it is after that, and what I've discovered and through my own experience and millions of other people's experience as well, is that your beliefs become your reality. Your beliefs and your perceptions about how things are and the way you see the world becomes a reality. Doesn't mean everything's perfect, but it just gives you a whole different outlook to what the world's like. I mean, what I realised as well, and that was the thing about school and that too. I didn't realise that, you know, I could basically have the life that I want to live.
I know.
You know,
I know.
because that wasn't suggested to me at school.
No.
It was always there, all that kind of stuff, these ideas and concepts were always there. They've always been in the world. It's always been there for us to pick up, read and look at. But we were educated by the programme managers to look the other way, to look at other things, to believe that other things were important. And what was less important was our own things, our own ideas, our own intuitions, all that kind of thing, you know?
I know. It's so true. I feel like I just went through life sleepwalking, but for 50 years probably. I was in a coma for about 20 of them, but I really was. But you just start to become who you think the people around about you want you to be, and so you lose yourself and you become disconnected. And then I think as well, like that teen rebellion that people talk about, that's just the teenagers rebelling. I think it's the teenagers going, this is crazy, this isn't me, I don't want to do this. Right. And then I think we do it again when we call it a midlife crisis, but it's not, as you were saying earlier, it's a time when you're waking up again, because what happens is you're a teenager, you rebel, and you think, this doesn't feel right, this doesn't feel like me, but then you're told by the programme managers, which your parents and school and religious leaders or whatever, no, this is how it is, this is what everyone else is doing, and then you just kind of think, right, okay, and then you go on and you do what you're supposed to do, or at least I did what you're supposed to do, as in you know, you go to uni, you meet someone, you get engaged, you get married, you have a family, and then all of a sudden you reach late 40s, 50, and you go again, because your family's grown up, and you kind of go, what is this all about again? And you go back to that rebellion stage where you think, no, this isn't who I am. And for me, the past 5 years is just about me unraveling and trying to teach myself about the conditioning that's happened to me, and then try and strip it back to see, right, that's why I'm behaving the way I'm behaving. That's why I attract the people I attract into my life. Exactly. And it's like, wow, but it's almost like you can rediscover yourself and then create a whole new life for yourself. Which I think is what we're both doing, isn't it?
Definitely. And I like that. So the punk rebellion thing for me, I was a punk when it, and I was into a band called Crass. They were like an underground, they got called an anarcho underground punk band, you know. They were amazing, and they used to sing about all kinds of things. They saw right through government, and I've got a tattoo there. There is no authority but yourself. You know, I loved all that stuff, and it gave me that was a kind of mixed up wee boy, you know. I was buzzing glue, 13-year-old. I was into all kinds of things, and I just thought the world was a really strange place. And I was like, you say, I had a rebellion, and I was like, this isn't right, this isn't who I am. What do you mean you want me to go to school? You used to be like, I have to go to fucking school and do that, and all day, and have to do this, and have to, away you going. Eventually you get that knocked out you, kicked out you. If you don't, you can continue and you can end up going to the jail, and then it was a borstal, you can do all that kind of things. They'll knock it out you eventually, right? And then you join the game, and I joined life. You join
the system,
and then I started joining. Then I got an education, and then I got a job, and I got a nice car,
you get a nice
and you get a nice house, and all these things. And all they say, oh, you're so normal and everything's good now.
You're doing well.
I never felt good about it.
No.
And as much as I would get a wee buzz for a wee while, especially to material things, especially money, it could buy you things, go holidays and that. It would always be short-lived, and after a wee while, the same feeling would come back all the time. Is this it?
I know.
Is this all there is to it? You know what I mean? And you're right. I realised that when I got to my late 40s, midlife crisis they call it, see, they trivialise these things. So a rebellion when you're younger is actually you. It's the real you, I think. It's the real you saying, no,
I'm not having this.
They trivialise it, knock you, it's just a phase, pat you in the head, come on, stop it. And then when you get to middle age, they call it a mid-age crisis.
A crisis,
and they belittle it again.
I know.
When actually what's happening is you're looking back and going, I was fucking right then.
Yeah, I was right all along.
Fucking right. And I'm not putting up with it anymore. And I'm going to start making changes and amendments to my life. I'm going to start doing the things that I want to do. And that's what the book is. For me, it's just about me talking about how I did that. You know what I mean?
I know. Just the unravelling of the realisations, isn't it? The unravelling your head. I know. But it is. It's like, I do feel like in my head, there's just like ball of wool or string or something like that, and I just kind of tease a wee bit, and I'm like, oh, right, that makes
it. Comes away,
and then a wee bit comes away, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I can make sense of that. But this, for me, in my 50s, I'm the most excited I've ever been about my life.
Okay.
I really am. I think, well, I've got 3 children, and they're all doing really well, and they're happy. I've got this saying, well, it was a friend of mine that lives in America. She said to me when she was over, you're only ever as happy as your least happy child. I think that's really true. So the 3 of them are happy. So it's almost like, well, I can then be happy because they're happy and they're fine. And I think it rubs off on your kids as well. When you're happy and excited about life, then they can see that even at your age, that you're going out there and doing stuff and enjoying your life.
Great discovery in your life when you realise that you don't have to do.
I know.
You don't have to conform.
I know.
If you try and do something a wee bit different, it's this amazing studio. If you try to do something a bit different with your life and you say, no, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do what I want to do.
I know.
If you do that, you find that you can.
You can do whatever you want.
And the barriers will start falling down.
I know.
The people come into your life that you need to meet. But you've got to try it. Remember, we were talking about, I think it was Earl Nightingale audio book that I've been looking at. And he says, he got it for somebody, but he said basically that happiness comes from freedom.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's true. Yeah. If you've got your freedom, you get up in the morning and say, I'm going to do what I'll enjoy doing the day. I'm going to focus on what I want to focus on the day.
Know.
You're happy. But it says in order to get freedom comes from courage.
Yeah.
And I get that. So happiness comes from freedom comes from courage.
Yeah.
And that courage is having the audacity to stand up to this society and say, do you know what? No, I'm not doing that anymore.
I know.
I'm going to do what I knew was right in the first place.
I know.
And I don't care what you say about it.
And your light bulb moment was driving along to go to your corporate fancy job, wasn't it? And you thought, and you saw a hill.
I saw the hill. I was driving up to Perth, and it was just, this is when it started. I was driving up here. I'd go by every day. I'd go by Glen Eagles, going up to Perth working. And I remember I was looking up Glen Eagles at the hills. I'd pass it every day and I'd say, I just want to go a walk up there. Yeah. And one day I just pulled a car in and phoned them up and said, I'm not well. And that was the beginning. Yeah. After that I said, I'm away a walk. And I did that. 6 months later I was living in Australia.
Amazing.
But there's a story, there's a story to that as well. But the conditioning thing that we talk about all the time today, and we'll talk about the other religion program managers. For me it was a big thing. My family in Glasgow, and like I always talk about it. My dad was a proddy. My mum was a Catholic.
Right.
And that was, I didn't even understand why it was called a mixed marriage when I was growing up. This, like, people used to say to me, they used to look at the colour of my skin and say, what do you mean you're a mixed marriage? I said, well, it was because I was a Protestant Catholic. But I was baffled by the whole thing. Yeah. I had a great balanced outlook on it all. I love all my family, you know. Yeah. And I was kind of baffled by the whole thing, how my next door neighbour, he was a Catholic, and we were proddies at the time, but we were nothing about God.
No,
we weren't talking about
football,
see if we mentioned God. It was your team.
Yeah, it was
your
football.
Team was like that was the religion, you know. And so the conditioning thing for me, I see it in that as well. So on one side you've maybe got the Queen, well the King now. On the other side you've got the Pope, right? So you've got these things, and people would stand up and fight in their name, right? And some in wars and that as well. And yet, you know, they would send my wains into war and see them die like that and no care.
Without a
and
thought.
Yet people kiss their hand and beg for forgiveness and go to where they are in the street and say, oh, I love you so much. And you bring such happiness to my life. Now, if that's not been conditioned, that's not hypnotised. I don't know what is. Yeah. And that's what, as human beings, we need to try and break away from. There's a whole illusion there. You know, that's in the big scale. And then in the smaller scale, how you're supposed to live your life every day. I know. And that's what I can't be arsed with anymore. I know. That's why I live my life the way I want to look after my family, my friends, the people I care about in my community.
But you do feel, I know because we talk, that there's like, you get dragged, there's people, there's energies, whatever you want to call it, trying to drag you back into the system. Aye. Every single day I feel it. I'm like, I should just get a normal job and 9 to 5.
It's trying to pull you in.
It's trying to pull me back in.
What if this and what if that?
Every day I'm
what
like,
if you didn't get that money?
I know.
I know. Pay that.
I know. And that's what I was saying to you earlier. I've always been taken care of. Aye. Like financial wise, everything wise, I've always been taken care of, as in I've taken care of myself, but I've always been able to, there's always been enough there to take care of myself. So why would it change?
And I think there's certain, I've always discovered as well, because there's been times in my life when I've not been cared for. But as I talk about as before, it's when I've done the wrong things. There's certain things I can't do in my life, I discovered at some point, and I can do them.
Yeah,
right?
but there's consequences.
But there's consequences. So for me, a lot alcohol, drugs, and that, when I was younger especially, nothing was ever going to work out well.
No.
That. It was great, crack. The 90s were great, and that, don't get me wrong, I can't really remember much of it, but it never ever helped me in a productive way in my life.
No.
Kind of thing. So there are certain rules, I feel, to be able to progress in your life. And I've found that when you do just the right things for the right reasons, things do work out for you.
And doors do open.
Aye.
The other thing I've learned is tuning into my intuition and my gut. I never ever trusted that in the past.
Aye.
And I remember during lockdown, I've always wanted to do psychology, and I've always been interested in psychology, and I was sitting during lockdown, and there was a psychology course that I was looking at doing, but I needed money to do it. And I remember saying, right, does it feel right to apply for this? I hadn't even got a place on the course at that time. Does it feel right? And I was like, yeah, it feels right. If the money was there, would you do it? Yeah, I would do it if the money was there. Right, just do it. The money will come. And it was kind of near the beginning of my whole spiritual journey where I was trying to trust the universe. And I went, right, I'll just apply. And then I got on and I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to fund this? And then the money comes. It does. It always works out. So I think as long as you're trusting your gut and you're doing things for the right reasons, the universe will take care of you. And I know that can sound a bit airy-fairy to people, because when I talk about the universe, I kind of get looks. But it could be God, or it could be just, external, I don't know, circumstances.
Well, that's what makes me laugh. We're taught at school where we're conditioned, right? We're taught, which is, all respect to your religion. I've not got any, if religion helps people, brilliant.
Yeah.
It's great. Whatever gets you through the night, as the song goes, brilliant, and I've not got a problem with that. But I was taught things about, in RE and stuff like that some of the stories were quite difficult to take on board and believe, you know. But then you maybe say, I believe I've got intuition and I've got a feeling about this. But don't talk rubbish, all that spiritual stuff and that. But you're supposed to believe these books that were written through the ages. They've been rewritten, so to speak, and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten. Interpreted in different ways by human beings that we've actually found out, and through the centuries have had a lot of frailties in that as well. But it's okay to believe in that, and you'll be protected by a law, by the way, nowadays. If if anybody says anything about those kind of things, which is fine, I've not got a problem with that either. But if you have kind of, one of the things I talk about as well, and we've spoken about it before, is a kind of DIY. Kind of, no religion, DIY spirituality. Where you take a bit of everything. Look at what suits you. What do you like? What makes you feel, this is key, what makes you feel good?
I know. It's the only thing that I can relate to and get my head around. Because I did back, years ago when I was about 35, I did the Alpha course. Because we were getting, my middle child was we were talking about getting him christened. And I went, right, what does it even mean? I'm going to go and find out about it. So I went and did this Alpha course, and it was a 6-month course every Wednesday night. And then I went on a retreat at the end of it. But everyone on it, except me and this other guy, were completely taken on by it. But I was just asking so many questions, and there wasn't answers to my satisfaction. So I was like, I'm not just going to blindly follow this. I haven't got the answers that I feel make sense to me. But then when I fast forwarded, and I call it my spiritual awakening, when I was 50, when I kind of woke up to a lot of things and asked a lot of questions, and realised that the life I was living wasn't the life I wanted to live, and that I was going to die one day, and I better waking up fast and do something about it. I discovered spirituality, and I thought, that makes sense. To look within, to look at yourself for the answers, to sort out yourself, to take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. It just all made sense. So for me, that's definitely how I live my life now. And try and be honest and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, the conditioning thing again, that's it. There's reason behind it, that we're conditioned, and we're conditioned to believe certain things so that we'll do certain things. So you're conditioned all the way. The main important thing through school is is that you learn how to get up, go to a place for 9 o'clock, leave the place at 5, get your bed early, say no, thank you, all the kind of things. Learn to read and write, basically, so you can be a slave for the rest of your life. Because you know that Sunday feeling, it's crazy. You used to get that Sunday feeling, you had school the next day or whatever, and your stomach was going, oh, that horrible, and you eat your bath and whatever, right? That continued. That continued through my working life. And it's the same every Sunday night. Oh, what the more. You're conditioned to feel like that and accept it, so you'll do that the rest of your life. You know, that's the whole point to it.
So that we'll be good consumers and good workers.
And we're told, it's like everything, it's like the religion. So the religion program managers, we call them, they tell you, if you want to get to heaven, by the way, after you live a life of misery and service, if you do that, and the more miserable you'll be, the more God will help you, but we'll be all right.
Yeah.
If you come through, if you want that, you come through us.
Yeah.
It's very similar to what happens in politics. So in politics, you might want to go and fix something. You might want to go and make something happen in your community or do something. And the political system will say, no, you have to come through your MP. You have to come through your councillor, your MSP, and then they will deal with it for you, because you can't get to them unless you come through us. And it's the same kind of setup. But we're conditioned to believe that is all how things work.
I know.
And again, it's not until you break down or somebody does something a wee bit different and pushes these structures that you see real change in individuals do it in history, you know what I mean? For Gandhi to... I mean, we're talking like in the political systems we're conditioned to believe are all right as well. What have they ever done? You know, we look at, there's nothing but war and...
I know,
that's it. And
repeating
it's one thing after
patterns.
Another. They talk about Russia and Ukraine, all this stuff that's happening now and that too. And we worry about the future. And I say, I'll take them back to the 80s. It was a Cold War. It was the Russians again. They were the baddies in they had a different mask on, and we had different masks on at the time. And we thought, I remember they were showing you programmes the day after and threads, and it was all about nuclear war.
Yeah, I remember that. We were all terrified.
We were all terrified.
And they had they used to play that siren, didn't they? And it was terrifying. Yeah.
It's constant. It's just constant. So if we're talking about conditioning, it's constant conditioning, programming, telling us how we should feel, what we should do.
Yeah.
To take us away from that intuition that you talk about. That intuition says something totally different.
Totally different.
It says, I want to be happy.
Yeah.
I want to be free.
I know.
I want to sing.
Why do I need to go to an office every day and sit from 9 till 5 and then go and have to ask someone, please can I take a day off, or please can I go to the toilet, please can I go and get a cup of coffee?
Because everybody else does it, that's how.
I know, everyone else does it. But when you're out of it seems absurd, doesn't it? I mean, I just think now, that would kill my soul if I had to do that. I just don't think I could do it. But we're conditioned to think, oh, she's done really well. She's got a nice house and a nice car, and she's got nice bags, and you know, she's got nice holidays. That's our definition in society of success. But actually, that person could be dying inside. So success is all about, success is the progressive realisation of a worthy ideal, isn't it, according to Earl Nightingale. But yeah, success is the person who wants to do something with their lives and goes out and does it and makes it happen. And it doesn't matter what that is. It's living a life that is true to you and what you want to be doing.
That's right.
So we all get to create that, and we don't realise we get to create it. But it's scary as well, because pulling away from that conditioning, and everyone else is getting up and going to work every day, and you're not getting up and going to work every day. You're getting up, not you, me as well, but if you're not in that system, you're getting up and you're creating your life, and you're saying, I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to work on my book or my music, or create workshops, or whatever that might look like. But there's that little pull always going.
Well, there's a lot of talk nowadays, and there's a lot of coaches and stuff like YouTube and that. You get it, and a lot is really, really good and helpful in that as well. But there's a lot of talk about boundaries, personal boundaries, and you know what you shouldn't allow or should allow in your life and that as well. But in terms of employment and in terms of people put up with some crap in their lives, you know, because they're frightened. And people people can have a mortgage or things to pay and that as well. I'm not saying there's not, and you know, people working hard every day, the last thing they want to hear sometimes is,
I know.
Oh, you shouldn't be doing that, and it's difficult for people to get out of that. You've got families, you've got bills to pay and that as well. But the simple fact is that we're you can do something else.
I know.
You can change your life. You can be, and although we're taught again, conditioned again to believe that success is once you reach that goal of a certain amount of money or whatever. Well, actually, success is, like you say, is knowing what you want to do now and starting to do it. And what's amazing, you spoke about the universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it. We can talk about that a bit more in another one. But basically, I've discovered, and so have you, and loads of other people have discovered, that when you put that foot in front of the other and start working on what you want to work on, everything starts to come to you.
I know.
Everything you need and more. And that's not just airy-fairy stuff. I'm not just pulling that out of the sky. That's been my own experience in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Once I started to do the things I wanted to do.
Take that first step.
Right.
I know. I've been the same. Like, as soon as I've just taken, like with the uni thing, I just took that first step and went, right, it feels right, I'll apply and I'll trust that it'll all work out. And it has all worked out. You take the step and then before you know it, you're on the course, before you know it, you finished the course and it works out. And it's the same. It's trusting the process, isn't it?
Aye.
And it's letting go. So that's been your resolution this year has been to let things go, to not allow fear into my life. So I'm trying to let go of the fear I have around my finances, around what I should be doing with my life. I'm just kind of going, right, help me out. Like whoever you are, help me out, my higher self, whatever it is.
Aye.
What is it you call it? Your higher purpose, no?
Your higher power.
Your higher power. Your higher power, whatever it is.
I call it Big T.
Big T, Big Tam. But whatever it is, that's what I'm doing now, just trying to let things go. And I feel so excited about life and about where it could lead me. I don't know where I'm going to end up. But again, I've made decisions this year that have opened more doors. And when you do the right thing, when you do it with the right intention and you put yourself out there, but you've got to take action, haven't you?
And have faith.
I know.
And so faith's a difficult thing for a lot of people too, but I lived all my life with inverted faith, which is called fear.
Yeah.
And I had a faith that things wouldn't work out. I had faith that I'll never get that job. I had faith that that'll fall through.
Yeah.
I had faith that they'll let me down, that she'll not go out with me, that'll end. And I was right every time.
Yeah, because
I had the faith in it. But it was called fear. And if you can change that and say to yourself, well, you know what? I have faith that is going to work out. I have faith that I'm going to get that. I have faith that, and change it about. It's the exact same thing, but it's just doing it in a different way. Now, I'm not saying that everything turns out exactly how you want it all the time, but usually when it doesn't, it's for a reason.
I know.
Because it was a better thing just along the road for you. And you can have faith in that as well. But I'd say to anybody, just try and have a bit of faith. Just try and say it yourself sometimes. Because see, I didn't like being wrong because of my insecurities. I never want to be wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I couldn't look at you and say, I will get that job, because I was so scared that you would think that when I didn't get it, you'd say, look at him. Look, he was, you know what I mean? Like, I was so bold that I would say that. But the thing is about no caring about that anymore. That was a defence thing for me. It was because I was scared to say it.
I know.
And, you know, that was just insecurity and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just
to be able to stand up and say, I'm going to try that because I will get that. You can even frame it a different way. You know, I'm going to try that. I'm going to do that because that's part of my journey towards whatever good's going to happen, and start looking at things like that.
I know.
I heard the good thing the other day. Somebody said they cringe. Another person, another coach on YouTube, they said they cringe when they hear people saying no problem.
Right.
I said, what? She says, you're telling the universe you want more problems.
Oh.
There's wee things that we say, I didn't.
Right.
She said, no bother, no problem, no problem.
Problems.
Every time you mention problem, you're inviting more problem.
Gosh, really? I say that a lot. No worries.
I say it all the time, no bother, no bother.
No worries,
problem,
no problem.
Yeah, it was just something that was said there.
Yeah, but I mean, we do need to watch what we're saying, I suppose, what we're putting out there. Hadn't thought of that one though.
But so that's the thing, yeah. So
yeah, so it's all about creating the life you want to create, and we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to not go and do 9 to 5 job
Then you want to
you can do whatever you want to do.
You've got choices. We always talk about that.
I know, definitely.
There's choices. Some people might say it's all right for you doing that. No, it's all right for everybody doing. We've all got choices. We can all do what we want to do.
I've had people say to me, "Oh, it's all right for you because you've got that," and I'm going, "Well, I created my life to look like this."
You had the courage.
Yeah.
To get the freedom to do it. And for the freedom, you get your happiness.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for listening. We've had a really nice time chatting about Tam's book, Chapter 1. We'll be talking about Chapter 2, which is the education years.
Yes.
That right?
Education.
So I hope you can join us next time. Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you.